All right, everybody, welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're diving into some pretty interesting waters.
Yo, yeah.
It's a book I think a lot of people have heard of, even if they haven't actually read it.
Mm-hmm.
The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene.
That's the one.
I mean, it's a little bit controversial, right?
Definitely.
Some people think it's like a handbook for how to be manipulative and ruthless.
Yeah, you get that a lot.
But I think there's also a lot of valuable insights in there about how power dynamics really work,
Totally.
in everyday life.
It's everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think whether you agree with all of his methods or not,
Mm-hmm.
it's helpful to understand these laws so you can at least recognize when they're being used on you, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Or even use them yourself in a strategic way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what do you think? So the book is basically, it's laid out as these 48 different laws.
Right.
But they're not just random.
Mm.
They're actually organized into kind of a structure.
Yeah. So Green, he breaks it down into three main categories.
Okay.
You've got laws for gaining power. Mm-hmm.
Maintaining power
Okay.
and then defending power.
So it's like a whole life cycle of power.
Exactly. It's like a game.
Interesting. So can you give me an example of like a law that falls into each of those categories just to give us a taste?
Yeah, sure. So for gaining power, there's this one that I always find interesting. It's never outshine the master.
Oh, that's a good one.
So basically the idea is that, sometimes it's better to play it a little bit subtle, especially if you're dealing with someone who's a little insecure in their position.
Yeah.
Like if you have a great idea, you don't necessarily want to just barge in and present it as your own.
Right.
You want to maybe kind of subtly suggest it. Maybe make it seem like it's building on something your boss has already said.
Make them think it was their idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That way they get the credit,
Sneaky.
and you still get to advance your own agenda.
I like it.
So it's a win-win.
All right. So what about maintaining power?
For maintaining power, there's one that I think is really relevant in today's world.
It's do not build fortresses to protect yourself.
Interesting. What does that mean?
Well, it's tempting to kind of isolate yourself when you're in a position of power.
Surround yourself with yes men.
Right. But Green argues that that actually makes you more vulnerable
How so?
because you lose touch with what's really going on.
Yeah.
You don't have those connections, those alliances that can support you.
You're an easy target.
Exactly. And if someone does decide to come after you, you're all alone.
That's a good point. And then what about defending power? What's the law for that?
All right, so this one's a little bit more, well, aggressive.
Okay.
It's crush your enemy. Totally.
Whoa!
Now, before you get too worried, he's not talking about like physical violence or anything.
All right.
It's more about being decisive
Okay.
when someone poses a real threat.
Like if someone challenges your authority.
Exactly. If you let them get away with it once, they'll do it again.
And other people might start to do it too.
Right. It's about setting a precedent.
Interesting. So it's like you have to show that you're not someone to be messed with.
Yeah. But again, it's not about being unnecessarily aggressive.
Right.
It's about choosing your battles carefully.
And knowing when to strike.
Exactly.
So those are just a few examples. But I think what's really fascinating about this book
Mm-hmm.
is the bigger picture,
Yeah.
Like what are the key takeaways about power itself?
Well, one of the things that Green emphasizes is that power is a skill.
Oh.
It's not something you're born with. It's something you can learn.
So it's not about your personality or your background?
Not necessarily. It's about understanding the rules of the game
Well, I like that analogy.
and learning how to play it strategically.
Yeah, so anyone can become powerful
In theory.
if they put in the effort.
Right.
And part of that is understanding how perception works.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just about what you do, it's about how other people see you.
Exactly. You have to cultivate the right image,
Like, if you want to be seen as a leader, you have to act like a leader.
even if you don't feel like it.
Fake it till you make it.
Sometimes, yeah.
And I think that's something that's really relevant for everyone listening,
Mm-hmm.
Think about your own workplace or even your personal relationships.
Yeah.
Who are the people who hold the power? How do they wield it? Have you ever been in a situation where you felt like someone was using one of these laws on you?
It happens all the time.
Or maybe you wish you had known about these laws
Yeah.
so you could have used them to your advantage.
Right. It's all about being aware.
Exactly. And I think even if you don't agree with everything in this book,
Mm-hmm.
it's a really valuable tool
Oh, for sure.
for understanding the dynamics of power.
It makes you think.
It does.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like looking behind the curtain.
Yeah, you see how the world really works.
And sometimes it's not pretty.
No, but it's the truth.
So as you go about your day-to-day, Think about the power dynamics you encounter. Who's playing the game?